Hi and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alyssa and I talk about cartoons and cartoony things. I wasn't going to do a follow-up to last week's video, but the timing and everything was just so great. The movie for Steven Universe just came out, and Redbubble also emailed me. Somebody named Jen from Redbubble emailed me and was like, we're doing a promotional where if you submit your designs for Steven Universe the movie, you'll get a $100 Redbubble voucher. That's pending because I just submitted the designs today. It's Saturday the 7th? Is that what today's date is? Yeah, it's Saturday the 7th. I just submitted these designs from the video into Redbubble, and we'll see how all that goes. If they get approved and if I get my voucher and all that, I will make a follow-up video, maybe a little brief follow-up video saying, hey, I got my designs approved, go buy them, and here's what it's like, and here's how to get your voucher. So anyway, the email was funny because she called me an influencer, which I'm definitely not an influencer, but it was funny to read that in an email. And also it was really funny that she clearly didn't watch the video, which I don't blame her, that's not her job to watch the video, but she clearly didn't watch the video because she's like, did you know that you can license fan art through Redbubble's partnership program? I'm like, that was literally the entire point of the video I uploaded last week. So anyhow, I thought the email was kind of funny, and I was like, well, I should do, you know, a Spinel design. Everybody's doing new designs for the Steven Universe movie. I can get my feet wet with doing fan art stuff, you know, getting in the groove of putting fan art stuff back on Redbubble now that there's like a legitimate way to do it with the partnership program. So I thought I'd do like a retro Spinel design, and this video is going to be much more of like a drawing process video than like a Steven Universe the movie thoughts and reaction video at first, but then the second half of my screen recording just didn't record. So this isn't a drawing process video, it's going to have Speedpaint in the background while I give my brief thoughts and opinions on the Steven Universe movie and what I thought about it. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. So I have kind of mixed feelings about the movie. Overall, I really enjoyed it, and I would recommend it to anybody that loves Steven Universe. If you haven't seen Steven Universe the show, I definitely wouldn't recommend watching the movie, though it does give you kind of like a recap of who everybody is. It's kind of hard to understand why any of these characters matter unless you've seen the show. They definitely go over like what their personalities are, what their character flaws are, what their big wants and desires in life are, and all that, especially when they're getting their memories back. Spoilers, you know, for anybody that hasn't seen the movie, I guess spoilers from here on out, but through the process of them getting their memories back, it's kind of like a best of cartoon montage episode, but a little better obviously because it's not recycled animation clips used as a filler episode. It's new, beautiful animation, and instead of recycling things, it's going over the old mixed with like this new dilemma of their memories being lost. So you do get a recap of who everybody is and all that. My one complaint with this as a plot, and I understand why they did it, because I had read months ago that the movie would be its own standalone thing and it wasn't going to have any serious repercussions on the storyline of the show, and it definitely didn't, which I don't think is a problem. But my only problem with the memory thing is that we kind of retreaded too much familiar territory with the Garnet fusion thing. They didn't do enough, I think, new. I think it would have been interesting that if, you know, when Ruby and Sapphire fuse and they remember who they are, Garnet doesn't really fully remember Garnet as Garnet until like the end of the movie. The fusion isn't what really triggers it. There needs to be some other piece of the puzzle, right? But I think in that time before Garnet figures out they're Garnet, if there was like some kind of conflict between Ruby and Sapphire being confused about fusion instead of like immediately loving it, they start to remember maybe they're in their quote-unquote past life as Garnet, like some of their conflicts and fallouts, and they kind of remember that they had trouble as a couple and then separate and then refuse and then separate and refuse a couple times and then come to the conclusion like, yeah, we've had our ups and downs, but that's true of anybody who loves anybody. And then, you know, I think that could have been a more powerful thing to do with Garnet in the interim, because between the time Garnet fuses as, you know, reset Garnet and the time that Garnet becomes the Garnet we know, she doesn't really do anything. She just kind of hangs out in the garage or whatever. I thought the best stuff in the movie was when they messed around with the reset gems. Like Pearl definitely shone the brightest in this regard. They had her like do things for her new master, Greg, like roll out the red carpet, which was very funny, and like acting very like default settings and stuff. I thought that kind of stuff was like the best thing about the lost memory plot, and I wish they had done more with that. They had a little bit of that with Amethyst acting like kind of like a baby, like talking very simply and not understanding things, but it wasn't as funny as what they did with Pearl, and I thought that was some of the best stuff in the movie, was the funny like default model of Pearl like serving her new master Greg universe. Like that stuff was great. I know it's supposed to be a standalone thing and not dramatically impact the plot of the show, but because of that, nothing really happens in the movie because of the memory loss subplot. You start with Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl, and you end with Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl just the way they were. They don't have any kind of lasting repercussions or damage from this whole memory loss thing. I think it would have been interesting, and I thought something they were going to do when Steven's gem was damaged. I thought that would be something that he would have to overcome later in the show. I think that would be interesting if he had like a cracked gem and he would have to like really focus to use his powers, and it would glitch out and it would give him kind of a disadvantage when fighting. I thought that was going to be something really interesting they were going to do, and they just healed it and everything's fine, which it's not bad. It's just not what I would have done, but you know, what do I know? I don't write for cartoons. I don't write for kids TV. Technically, all that happened in the movie that impacts anything else in the show is that we know there's a gem named Spinel, and she lives in Homeworld now, and we know that Steven can fuse with Greg and make Steg. Like, those are the only two new things that happened in the movie. Everything else, because Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl, they don't even remember that they lost their memory. They're just like back to normal and all is well. They don't have any kind of lasting like trauma or whatever from the experience of being reset and what that was like. So I'm really curious to see what they do with the show, and if anything from this movie, if Steg or Spinel are going to have any kind of real impact on the storyline of the next season. I think the last season of the show. The music in the movie was excellent. Like everything else in Steven Universe, they always give Garnet the best songs. Like, her songs are always way better, and I don't know if it's just because Estelle is an actual singer that has, like, you know, pop songs, so maybe she knows what songs are more catchy and has some kind of input on that, or I don't know, but Garnet's songs are always the best and most memorable. All the music was great, and I think it's great that they put the soundtrack online like the day the movie came out, and that it's like a seamless soundtrack that it just keeps going and going, and it's on Spotify. But I think that was really smart of them to do. To wrap up my thoughts, I guess, great music, some really fun character things they did with the whole memory loss plot. I wish they had pushed it further, and I wish there would have been some more lasting repercussions, but that's just my 2 cents. Overall, definitely would recommend checking out Steven Universe the movie. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments below. You can check out all my social media and the links in the description below as well, and if these designs do get approved by Redbubble, you will find the links to purchase them in the description below. Until then, I'm not going to link them because Cartoon Network needs to review them. So thank you guys for watching, and have a terrific rest of your day.